Good morning. Nice to be with you again. I'm sat outside. The weather's definitely taken a little bit of a turn this morning. A bit chilly out here, but still nice and fresh. So we're going to continue with our Bible study in John's Gospel. I'm going to be looking today at the beginning of John chapter 2. So we got an amazing story, a very familiar story, one that is read up and down the country at weddings. But again, I want to look at it and just see what what is this story, or some of what is this story trying to um, point to. I th- I like the description that you sometimes see in commentaries, which talk about this first miracle or sign. You know, like it talks about it as a sign, and what's the sign meant to point to? It's not just about the sign, but it's understanding what um, is being pointed to at this moment. And what does Jesus do in the whole of his ministry? He points to the Father. So the purpose of you know this sign at the wedding is to point to the Father and to reveal who Jesus is as well, to reveal the glory of Jesus. And so when you look at this sign and look what happened at in John 2, there are many little bits of symbolism, and what I want to be able to help us grab hold of is a little bit of that today. And it does mean that some bits of the story I may not focus on in the time we've got in the same way. So, famous story where it says in John 2, on the third day, there you are, straight away, bang, we've got something that is significant even in the wording. If you remember when we've looked at John 1, there is so much depth in his writing. Every line, every word, conveys this huge richness of meaning, more than we can comprehend. So why should that stop now? So I think it's significant that this wedding was taking place on the third day. Third day really represents Resurrection Day. The third day was when it was really evident that things were going to be different. Jesus died, he was buried, and on the third day he rose to life. And it was a life-giving day, a resurrection day, a moving into the New Testament era, really, that got complete over the period of time as Jesus was then resurrected up through the heavens and took his seat at the right hand of the Father, poured out the Holy Spirit, and you got the day of Pentecost coming. So here you have a wedding taking place on the third day, on the day of resurrection. The wedding, I think, is again a very significant event in a number of ways. The obvious one is that um, when you get to the end, it talks about the wedding of the Lamb. There's this whole symbolism about coming together and what Jesus did through his death and resurrection. You've also got this understanding that a wedding on earth is about two people becoming one flesh, that becoming one unit. And you're like, when you go back to Genesis and the fall, what happens there is you've got two people, Adam and Eve, that they become separated. The separation that happens is that when they take the fruit, they become aware of their um, nakedness, and they cover themselves with figs to cover their shame. You've got this separation that's coming, and the union of a wedding speaks of something different that's coming. It speaks of a wedding and a coming together of that which was separated. And even the words at a wedding that let no man separate. It's like you know it's another pointer of what Jesus has come to do. And amazingly, I always think it's funny that Jesus and his disciples, he's only just been gathering his disciples, and suddenly um, they're all invited to a wedding together. And I'm like, maybe that's why the wine ran out. um, anyway, so when the wine is gone, it says um, Jesus' mother said to Jesus, they have no more wine. And Jesus is like, come on, woman, why involve me? It sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? I think it's probably a term linked to the day, but he says, my hour has not yet come. I, I find that an interesting statement because it's like in the next breath he's going to be doing this miracle. So it's like if his hour hadn't come, it was as good as there. And you got the involvement of his mum, and yeah, I think when you look at Mary, she was someone who treasured in her heart. She knew deep down that Jesus was coming for a very special moment, a very special time, and she knew that he was the Son of God. She had those angelic visitations. So there's probably a level that Mary's been lined up, waiting, for the breakthrough moment, waiting for that moment where she knew that Jesus would be stepping into the fullness of his ministry. And for 30 years, she's been watching and wondering, but now she can see there's a change that's happened, there's a shift that's happened. And it's like this metamorphosis that's happened, that Jesus is no longer going about his business, living on earth in an incredible way, but she can see and understand that he's now, a young man full of the power of the Holy Spirit. And it's like she will have spotted that the mission has begun, something has changed. So I think her involvement is almost like drawing on that depth of what she knows. If you've got a minute, it would be a great thing to go and have a look and study. What did Mary say? What did she know about Jesus ahead of time? And so, despite Jesus' words, yeah, his mother basically says, "Go and do what he tells you." And there's 6 stone jars that are used to hold water. Interestingly, and I'm sure again there's a lot in this imagery, they're ceremonial jars. They're jars of washing, which points again to what Jesus was coming to do. He was coming to really make those redundant, wasn't he? Make them redundant because he was coming to bring us a cleansing, a cleanness that we live with, not one that we have to constantly get. We live forgiven, and really our actions of asking forgiveness bring that into our lives. It doesn't have, how do you put it's that forgiveness that helps restore relationships, helps restore our heart, bring healing to our heart. And there's this tension. We are forgiven, but we also receive forgiveness. So Jesus gets the jars filled with water, so really they're still acting like ceremonial jars at that point. And then they draw the water, take it to the master of the banquet. Again, it makes me chuckle. It's like Jesus is saying, yeah, you're the master, you've run out of wine, but now I'm the true master, this banquet. And the person, he says he didn't know where it had come from, and he had no ability to identify that at that point. And he says this, says everyone brings the choice wine first and then the cheaper wine after, when the guests have had too much to drink, but you saved the best to last. And there's the prophetic declaration out of this, that Jesus came, and all that had gone before, there was good stuff that had gone before. There was, it wasn't all negative and gloom and doom, but here we have Jesus. He's come and bringing the best. And it says about the disciples believed in him. Why? Because the signs, the turning of water into wine, had been a moment that revealed the glory, that pointed to the Father. It must have astounded the disciples. They must have been looking on, going, "What has just happened?" This was a moment that was an incredible shift in their world. They were following Jesus because in their hearts, they knew this is the Messiah, this is the Son of God. They'd already been touched in their hearts, but now their eyes have been opened to something that was coming in their direction, something that was greater and really more incredible. So Jesus revealed his glory, and there, I think in John's Gospel, you have something that is constantly and consistently going to come through, this whole theme of the glory of God being revealed. I'll leave it there. There's you see there's quite a lot stashed and hidden in this passage. If you want to read it all, and it's well worth reading carefully and not just whizzing over. It's in John chapter 2, verse 1, really through to verse 11. Anyway, bless you. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you so much again for being with me, and thank you for your lovely comments as well. Bless you. Bye for now.